Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. We're your hosts, Eric Mando, and this is episode Cuarenta, bringing you the top stories of Bitcoin, tech, and wealth so you too can carry your best friend in your pocket. Dale.
Dale.
Hey, I want to start off by saying, thanks to all of our subscribers that have been checking in with us. As you know, Houston has been in the news a lot lately for our scary weather. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a lot of flooding going on around Houston. And now, we just had this series of tornadoes and a derecho, which is like kind of a weird rare event where this is just super fast winds. We had Category 2 hurricane style winds at 128 miles per hour. We're okay, but there are still a lot of Houstonians that are without power. There were up to about 1 million people without power at one point, and some people did have damage to their homes and things like that.
Yeah.
So just want to say thanks for all those folks reaching out to us. We're doing good, but keep those in mind that are having some issues still.
Yeah, Houston is a pretty big city. Just to give you an idea for some of the listeners, Austin is about 1 million people in population. So, and Houston is one of the top 3-4 cities in the United States. You still see around. I have a couple friends that they couple days already with no power. So and no cellular as well, because obviously there's no power around. So the cell towers also not alive. So like, yeah, I told a couple friends, hey, if you want to come over to the house, to get AC, because it's also hot and humid, right? So yeah, but yeah, it's sometimes the communities start just cleaning up. We have another friend, shout out to Lee. he basically said that Lumberjack Lee. He basically said that he just saw a tree falling in his street. I was like, man, I'm gonna get to use my chainsaw, and then he just chopping wood just to help his own community and his neighborhood. So good job, everyone that is doing that. So shout out to all of those.
Alrighty. Well, let's get into this. What happened this week? So last week, we teased a little bit that there was supposed to be this OpenAI announcement. Now, on Monday, we heard kind of the big news. They came out with GPT-4o, like little o standing for Omni. So it's basically an iteration of GPT-4, it seems like. But the big thing that they kind of came out with is that it's supposed to be like her. So if you guys are familiar with that movie with Scarlett Johansson that came out several years back, with Joaquin Phoenix, right? Where he carried his girlfriend in his pocket in a little device. This is basically what GPT-4o is and how they marketed it. What do you think about the videos, Mando?
They were good, but it's a bit scary. There's so many lonely people that it's gonna be. I'm not sure if you have seen the movie, but it's that, right? It's like the person just kind of gets this girlfriend, right? I don't want to do some spoilers, but it's an old movie. But the whole psychology of people like having the AI as a friend or AI as a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. Uh, it's just whole weird to me, right? I think that is it. Some of these things are kind of killing interactions between humans. So for me, as a technologist, technology should enhance you to help you more like a tool instead of just kind of control you, right? Like Terminator or whatever, right? So, and I think that this is getting it too close to messing up with our mindset or our health, mental health. We'll see the ramifications of all of this. I don't know. What's your take? Would you have a girlfriend when you were single like that?
You know what? I think it could help. It could help somebody that maybe has a little bit of anxiety or social anxiety, or they're not good, or they don't feel like they're good in talking to the opposite sex. They could. It's like a set of training wheels here. So for those that aren't familiar with what exactly the GPT-4o is, or the Omni, it's basically multimodal, and what they mean by that is that it can use video and it can use audio at the same time. So in the demos, they have this phone that it can use your video and it can read your expressions. It can look to see what your surroundings are. It can describe the environment. It's live. It's like real time. It talks to you. And here's the funny thing: what they did with the voice. This is what I noticed. It felt like they made the voice kind of like flirty, like to make it seem like a girlfriend type. It was just like very like over the top. Oh yes, oh you're so smart, oh you're too funny, oh you're so sweet, like that. Like, you like my impression? That's
And you
that's
like
how
that,
they
right?
made the character. I was like, oh, again, making me tingly here. But that's how they made the character. I mean, it's a little over the top, but again, it's the demo. I'm sure you can adjust like how sweet you want it to be, but that's you can tell that was kind of, it seems like their intention,
The
like that's
intention.
what they wanted to give off. So that's the cool part. Now, of course, during the demos, they did a lot of different demonstrations. Like they did even a tutor for homework. Like they showed someone doing math problems, and it, instead of it showing you like this is how you solve the problem, they kind of encouraged the student, like, oh, maybe you try this, or how do you think you would do this? So it was more of a tutoring vibe versus like just showing you how to do it. So it's pretty interesting. Were there any demos that stood out to you?
No, I think that I'm still thinking on the whole aspect, like Jarvis. Some of
Mm-hmm.
us we liked kind of that idea, right, from Iron Man, where you have this AI. I prefer the butler vibe. It's kind of here to serve you. You're right, instead of like Terminator vibe. It's like I'm here to
Yeah.
kill you.
Yeah, I think most people might like that.
I don't know, man. It's like there are some psychos out there. So I think that that's now with eyes and with the sound and the AI, because if you think about it, a lot of portion of the brain is dedicated to visual. It's like 30%. So before we had literally ChatGPT, and it was text based, and maybe a little bit of the videos getting some of the text, but it was not truly seen. But now they are getting, like, now they can see.
Hmm.
So it allows you to, with less information, to be able to learn. So like look at a little kid. Sometimes doesn't even know how to communicate, write or read. Um, but when with couple images, it understand concepts. So I think that is we're gonna start seeing it. We think that AI is moving fast now with all of these visual, because we have a lot of videos like in YouTube and
Hmm.
internet. I think that that's gonna be a very interesting thing. And you know what I'm more excited about? I'm excited that the tutor might even explain you the concepts even better, because for the human is like you have to read this text to understand a complex thing. But now if the AI understands very well, it might be able to show you some diagrams, or some
Hmm.
infographics, and in that way also human can learn super fast, right, in a different approach. We're moving at a super fast pace. What's your take there on moving in that fast pace?
I think it's true, right? They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And so there's this bandwidth, right? That if we're trying to read through things or just listen to audio, it takes a certain amount of time. But with these new AIs, if they're starting to be able to create diagrams or read pictures themselves, they too can work at a faster pace, at more of a human level pace. So I think that's pretty cool. That's what I'm really interested in. The good thing about this is they say that they're making it available for free, so it's not necessarily an upcharge. Like right now, I think GPT Plus is $20 a month or
You
something,
know
but
why?
I think they plan to release this
Yeah,
for
but
free.
it's just collecting information, man. They're companies. It's like
Oh
now
yeah.
you are getting like video from all of these users, 100 million users or whatever it is the amount of users that they have, and now
Hmm.
they're collecting data because it's expensive. Every time that they have to buy like tweets or traffic or sources from other places, they have to pay those licenses. So
Yeah.
if probably we read very fine the fine print on ChatGPT, TOS, terms of services, probably say, hey, we're gonna use some of this data.
So now you're getting into some of the ethics, right? And so some other news that came into or that we heard about this week was that Ilya Sutskever was leaving OpenAI. He was the OpenAI's chief scientist, and he was involved with the big Sam Altman oust that happened last December, right?
Hmm.
Where Sam Altman's out, no, he's back in. Well, who tried to get him out? And Ilya and the other chief officer, they both collaborated to get him out. And so there was this big thing, and he's been kind of in this limbo state ever since, right? For the last 6 months, he's been kind of hanging out, but now they've officially said that he's out. And initially, they said he was leaving, or he was trying to push Sam Altman out because he was kind of scared of where things were heading, or how Sam Altman was maybe approaching AI in terms of ethics or safety.
Yeah, dude, I saw that based on the tweet that Sam Altman posted it. He basically says something like Ilya and OpenAI are parting away. It's
Yeah.
basically, but the interesting part of his tweet is that Ilya is easily one of the greatest minds of our generation. So, he was like kind of decent, right? To be
Mm-hmm.
able to just say, you know what, I recognize this is a great mind. So, um, but, in the tweet, I don't know, you have seen this guy. His name is Greg. The guy
Mm-hmm.
is just like almost like a very dry comedian on internet. He's a troll also, right?
Yeah.
But the funny part of Greg though is that, have you seen when you actually have to register into a service like Twitter or X or whatever, and sometimes like your name is taken, and the machine gives you maybe a couple numbers, and that way you are like, I don't know, Eric Ramirez 1 2 or 2 3,
Yeah.
right, whatever. Well, this guy took it to a notch. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna put like 10 numbers. So if you Google him, he's like Greg 1667 blah 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 blah.
Ends with 420.
Yeah, yeah. So a long string, right, for a username. Well, this guy, he posted it on his tweet. What did he see? So I think that maybe that's the conspiracy theory, right? On what this guy saw that scared him, that wanted to kick out or boot out a Sam Altman.
Yeah. Um, so I think the last sentence of Sam Altman's tweet kind of alludes to the reason why he's leaving, right? It said something about like, I'm very confident he will lead us to make rapid and safe progress towards our mission of ensuring that AGI benefits everybody. So again, he was supposedly like the cautious and responsible one, where maybe Sam Altman is the one that's just pushing forward, get like the best product out there, whatever that people are going to want to jump onto and get. And so I don't know, really interesting. I think the plan is I think they mentioned that he's going to go pursue a personal, meaningful project. Ilya will. So I'm assuming that means he's going to do his own startup, or maybe jump to one of the other startups that are out there that are more socially
Yeah.
responsible.
Or maybe one of the big ones, right? Like Nvidia. They will be fools if they don't. It's like, hey man, just come and be
Everybody's got
our
to
chief
try.
scientist. Yeah, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
any of the big, even Google, you name it. But I think that it will be up to him to see what he wants to do, right? Like if he wants to, maybe it's funny in this type of situations. Then you could become the ethic AI company, right? The ethics or the
Yeah.
security or governance, whatever you want to call it, right? So we'll see. Let's just watch that
Yeah.
guy. He's very brilliant. So we'll see what he ends up doing.
Yeah. I mean, I could foresee like, okay, if there's going to be a world of these super AIs, super AGIs, you're going to need one to be the policeman, right? It's like, hey, I can see what you're up to. You need to stop that, right? So he's going to be the one that's policing the other AIs, and maybe that's the approach that they're going. Like we've mentioned before, we can have different AIs to play a certain role to guide or to stop or to improve. Maybe that's what he's going to work on, or something close to that.
Do you remember that guy, Palmer Luckey, which was the
Mm-hmm.
founder of Oculus
Leap
that he sold
Magic or
it to
something, and then the
mm, uh,
Oculus or
the
something. One of
Oculus, and he
those.
sold, yeah, he sold
Okay.
to Facebook for Oculus Rift for 2 billion. I remember back in 2014.
Hmm.
And I mean, he almost kind of sparked the whole industry on VR. You know, there were a couple things, but his was kind of the best one in that time. Well, that guy started going into more uh, company focus on autonomous drones and sensors for military purposes. So
Hmm.
it would not surprise me that also maybe this guy goes into that route, right? Like a maybe government type of a military applications, things like that. So uh, many ways that he can go. So it's up to him.
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting what the future holds. But at least right now, it looks like he's out. And I think there was another notable person, one of the other technical leaders that also left. So maybe they're going to team up. You don't really know, but um, that's kind of the news. And all of this stuff is just changing so quick. Just 6 months ago, Sam Altman was out. Now it's Ilya that's out. But all this whole time, they've been releasing products and products. So I'm excited to use GPT-O. Also in the news, Google had their Google I/O announcement. I think the day after on Tuesday. Uh, I don't know. I feel like the whole announcement that GPT had on Monday took all the wind out of the sails of Google's announcement. uh, it was maybe not a letdown, but it was like, okay, we've seen all
Hmm.
this stuff before, but they did announce a few things. So they did have their normal Gemini update. So they have their normal ChatGPT competitor. So they got an updated one that supposedly is supposed to be the strongest one, blah, blah, blah. They all say this, by the way. They all leapfrog each other every week. Then they also have their Project Astro, which is basically GPT-4o's like conversational stuff that they had. So they can also do the same thing. I think what people saw was Google's version had maybe a slight lag, like maybe half a second lag, but
Hmm.
it was noticeable. After hearing GPT-4o's version, that's very fluid, very fast. Google's seems just a tad slow.
Yeah.
So that was kind of one of the differences. They also came out with their Gemini app assistant, and this is one that I'm really interested in because I think they're going to allow this to be embedded into lots of different devices. So if you have Google Home devices or if you have smart Google TVs at home, technically they should be able to run this. They'll have a lightweight version that'll run on these home devices. So maybe in the near future you can have Jarvis, right? Jarvis being the famous robo butler like that you see in the Marvel movies, where you can ask it to do different things and control your smart home. I know I've got an integrated smart home system. I can see this being a plug into my system. It can control everything from window shades to lights, to music to sound, and blasting, controlling the whole home. So it might be pretty interesting.
So it's like evil lyrics, like a clap clap, Jarvis.
Clap on, clap off. The clapper.
All
Yeah.
right, man. Let's jump into my favorite section, Bitcoin. So
All
what do we
right.
have there? What are the latest?
Okay. So I think we heard like there's been a huge amount of firms that have been jumping into the Bitcoin ETF. So I think like last week we mentioned there were a couple of big ones like JP Morgan Bitcoin, which uh, maybe previously they were not on Team Bitcoin, but now they've switched to Team Bitcoin. I think we heard Vanguard. They're also switching
Vanguard. I
teams.
didn't hear that one.
Vanguard.
Oh
They've
wow.
been will never support Bitcoin, and now they are hiring. I think the old BlackRock CEO, something like that, or not CEO, but leader of the fund, to come over to Vanguard to lead their new spot Bitcoin ETF. So lots of interesting movements here. But the point here is that there's a huge amount of firms, a bunch of new filings with the SEC, that's really bumping up all of this
Yeah. One
assets under
interesting
management.
note there is that how do we know that, or how the industry knows, is because some people don't realize that there is forms that these firms they have to file with the government, and they are very common called the 13F filings, which they have to report to the government, hey, this is how much we have purchased of Apple or whatever company, but also for ETFs. And that's the
Mhm.
reason why it's not as obscure. We cannot know how many firms they have been out there buying and how much. Right now, it's about 3.5 billions, which is very good. It's like these are institutional investors, not your regular Eric and Mando, right?
Mhm.
Retail investors, right? So it's very good for the ecosystem. Also, I think that it will allow us to create a very solid foundation in this 50K ish range. Obviously, we're not finance advisors or anything like that, but with all of these, it creates a very nice support. And yeah, I'm excited for that. I think that is just more companies getting on board it as we keep moving along.
Yeah. And we've talked about these institutional investors. With these ETFs, it allows institutional investors to get on board. Well, what we saw this week also, Wisconsin Pension Fund. So it's one of the largest pension fund. I think it's the eighth largest pension fund here in the US. They made an allocation of Bitcoin. I think it was just to start 160 million. But this is just a sign of what's to come. It's a very small purchase right now, still large purchase, but compared to their
Mhm.
assets under management, it's still under 1%. And what a lot of people, a lot of these institutional buyers are starting to see is they need to do maybe a 1 to 2% investment. So they're the first one, and usually that's the hardest one, right? The others will begin to follow. Pension funds in the U.S. It's a huge amount of they have a huge amount of assets under management, so this is also gonna go towards moving the needle in terms of Bitcoin price.
Yeah, no, and I think that they are creating the playbook, so in that way, other institutions they can do it. So um, this is only one basically one city, right? In mine in a city, you have also different institutions. You have hedge funds and pension funds for teachers, for firefighters, right? For police departments, any other kind of government institution that they have their employees, and then you start seeing this amount percentage, right? So it is massive. I think that that's the reason why you might think that right now the price is pretty high, but yeah, it has still rooms to grow. And also the other way that some of the Bitcoiners are seeing it is to be able to start taking some of the money that is being allocated for gold. So just that alone, that's the reason why the argument that the price still has room to grow. On top of that, inflation, right? I,
Mm-hmm.
I I was joking with people that I need to have different references, and right now my yardstick is how many bitcoins, and in order to translate how many, what is the kind of the rationale on the Bitcoin is like, okay, how many Teslas I can buy with my Bitcoin?
We need the one Bitcoin to one Tesla ratio.
Yes, a yardstick. In Wall
Your
Street,
yardstick, huh?
usually when they say one yardstick is 1 million. So like just two yardsticks. So it's gonna change that to how many bitcoins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's part of the fun, right? Like we've shared the meme before, the grocery store meme. How much can you
Mhm.
buy with one Bitcoin? Before it was just like this much, and now it's like this much. Your card is full with one Bitcoin, or you
They're
have
such a yeah.
overflowing.
And then that was the other one that I like is the meme where one guy has one Bitcoin and he basically goes through the all of that, but the last picture is a castle.
Yeah,
It's
a
to
castle in the
know that
citadel.
that has one whole Bitcoin.
Yeah, yeah, pretty interesting. So just a reminder, y'all, there are some minimums that a lot of other Bitcoiners or YouTubers out there recommend. I see a point, they it used to be get at least one Bitcoin. Now then it was at least 0.28 Bitcoin. And now people are recommending, hey, get at least zero point 0.1 Bitcoin if you can, right? I think these are some minimums that a lot of people should at least strive for.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the right now one of the expensive paintings, right? Do you remember the painting? Is this guy? It was Leonardo da Vinci, the one that he painted, but they found it. Is basically, I'm trying to remember the paint. Salvador Mundi. I just Google it.
Oh,
Uh,
the one with
uh,
the guy that holding the
no, it's basically
no.
it's like a Jesus with the fingers, and they
Oh, okay.
they repair it. But it's my point is like that one is worth. Uh, I was acquired a couple times, right? But it's in the 100 million price tag.
Hmm.
But in my mind, it's like obviously this one is because you're never gonna get another back, and I think that that's what I'm trying to make the point. With Bitcoin, it's only fixed supply, so you cannot mint them back. So that's the reason why they are becoming collectibles and something that you don't need to preserve and all of that, right? So it's technology. So that's what I think in my mind is more like a collectible that you can park your cash. And some other people they call it store value, things like that, right? But for me,
Hmm.
in my brain, that's how I'm thinking. It is more like a collectible.
Yeah. Yeah. The more scarce it is, typically, the more valuable it is. I mean, it's not the case for everything, but that's where a lot of financial folks have done. Again, we're not financial analysts and stuff like that, but that's typically the traditional wisdom that you see. Um, so, on moving on to some Tesla news. All right, I think we've heard that there is a robo taxi coming. Have you heard about this?
I mean, you're gonna get your Cybertruck. Would you put it there as a?
Man, I'm going to enjoy my Cybertruck for myself. I'm not putting it out there. Who knows what people are going to be doing in there if they don't have to drive.
It's like if it's on the nights, it's like even if people is partying, you're gonna get puke in your your Cybertruck.
Yeah,
But yes,
yeah, I would be looking forward to
that
that.
news came out when Elon Musk went to China, and then it's like, you know what? I'm gonna have a robot taxi here in China. If they don't allow me in US, I'll
That's
make it
true.
externally, right? So yeah, there's many ways for Elon to wiggle across the planet.
Yeah, it's just so weird. There's been a lot of talk about the full self driving versus autopilot. Like these words that he used are very specific, and now he's saying robotaxi where you don't need any driver. Well, so there's been recent lawsuit against against Tesla, and Tesla tried to dismiss it. Right now, not a big deal, but no, judge allowed it. Says no, this is legit. This is a legit lawsuit. You know, Tesla is being accused of misleading customers since back in 2016, right? So it's been 8 years by claiming that the autopilot and full self driving technology were already functional or almost being functional. Trying to get people to pay for these things, right? I think they had it at 12,000. Right now, it's at 8,000. It used to be 4 or 6,000. So it's been all over the place. But it seems like it's just been a lever to try and get people to buy it, right? So I think there's this lawsuit because right now, technically, it's not really full self driving yet, right?
Mhm. Do you think that
They
is ready? Have you used it? Like, uh, what's your take there?
Yeah. So we mentioned that they gave everybody, I think, a 1 month free trial on their Teslas to try full self driving. I did get it and I enabled it this week. I've used it previously. I think they gave me a loaner and I tried it and it was nowhere near ready. I was like, I turned it on for maybe like half a mile and then turned it off because it was too
Mile.
dangerous. Yeah,
It
half a
was
mile.
stingy.
I was like, no, I'm not using that shit. It just was not, it was not there. I will say that I did turn it on this week and it's a lot better.
Okay.
Now, it's a lot better from where it was, but I no, you cannot just let it go on its own. I tried, and I've been using it. I've been using it constantly since I've had it. So I would say it's had maybe out of 10 drives, maybe there's one where I don't have to stop it or change it or interact with it. And these are typically some short drives that are maybe just a
Hmm.
couple miles at a time. I drove to the Woodlands, right, which is probably like a 40 or 50-mile drive or something like that. It did okay there, but I did notice it has kind of a slow reaction time. So
Mm.
while the full self driving was driving straight, um, another car was sideswiping me, and it didn't do anything. It was just staying in its lane. So I had to take over and move out of the way because this idiot was driving into me. Now, for those that aren't familiar with Houston traffic or Houston driving, I think Houston was recently ranked the number one bad driving road rage city in the US or something like that. So the drivers in Houston just aren't very good in general. Like there's all kinds of craziness that's going on, and it's progressively gotten worse. It wasn't always this way, but I think ever since like COVID times, man, things went out the window. People just do whatever they want. And so the full self driving doesn't react super quick, and in some cases, I was going on the on ramp to get on the freeway, and it couldn't decide to get on or to stay off. And so what it did is stayed in the middle. So it was about to hit the divider to get on or off the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had to take over. So there were several instances where, yeah, I probably could have died or or been really strongly injured if I didn't take over. So for sure, it's not there yet. A couple of other notes is maybe on this drive to the Woodlands, which was kind of a long drive, this thing changes lanes a lot. It's going back and forth, back and forth. It's like, dude, we're going 40, 50 miles straight. Like, just stay in one lane. Like, you don't need to lane hop. And it says moving to faster lane or moving off of passing lane, moving back to fast lane. It's like, no, no, no. I don't need any of that. That's too much. I appreciate that they're thinking about that, but again, it's not quite there. And then also, it waits till the last minute to change lanes. This is really weird. Um, for instance, I'll be driving down the street and I'll know I need to make a right on the upcoming street, which is maybe a quarter mile away or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one next to me. It can change lanes to the right lane to get ready to make that right turn on the street, but it doesn't do it. It just keeps going down middle lane. And then once we're like right there imminently to try and make a right turn, it waits till then to get on the right lane to make a right turn. But there's cars there. Now there's cars there. So it's like the timing for getting into the correct lane to make a turn is not quite there. You know what it ended up doing? It ended up doing making the turn anyways around the person. Good thing the other person was also turning, but it turned together with the other person. I was like,
Oh,
oh
wow.
God. I was like, I didn't want to get T-boned there. But I think the other lane was a turn only lane anyways. And so maybe I recognize that. I may be giving it a benefit of the doubt, but yeah, it's like, what are you doing, Tesla? Or, I haven't named the Tesla yet, so I don't know what to call it. Maybe I'll call it Tessie or something. But yeah, it's not.
And you're
it's
gonna
not quite
put
there.
the sexy voice from AI, and it's like, oh, you're gonna get all tingle in your Tesla, man.
What's wrong, Eric? Don't you
I
like
see
how
you a
I
little bit
turn?
distressed. Oh shit.
Let me turn up the AC for you.
Yeah, the other thing that happened this week on the AI portion, Dali 3 now actually is able to draw proper hands. So
What?
yeah, so it's like, man, I need. This is an interesting part right now with the robot taxi that we're talking about. We're moving very fast.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I told you about the show. Did you ended up finish watching the whole show for the three body problem?
Oh yeah, yeah. I did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty
Yes.
good.
So there is a premise there on that show. I don't no spoilers, but basically it's just how fast humans we are able uh, to increase our technology, right? So and I think that is I want to hear your perspective. What is making us to move very fast in the last, I guess, 100 years? I
Mm.
feel that because if you notice, I mean, we were like in caves, a couple thousand years, and just the last 200 years has been just exponential. But yeah, what was your thinking?
Hmm. Yeah, that's the reason. The why. The why. I'm not sure. It could be capitalism. It could be people are driven by the money or by the success. So in doing that, how do you do that? Is like you keep improving on what you have, right? So there's all these
Hmm.
businesses that are competing against each other. So we've always said the more people that are in the business, the more competition, and who benefits is the consumer. So in a way, there's part of that, and I think there's tools. People learn to use tools to make things easier. Maybe people naturally want to make things easier on themselves, right? So I think that's also one of the things. So with AI, it's going to be taking over lots of things that we don't maybe necessarily have to do ourselves anymore, and it's going to escalate even more quickly because all you
Yeah,
need is CPU power, and it'll go.
I think that from my perspective, we put together, maybe not knowing. I think that now it's easier to see it, but 100 years ago, even 50 or even 30 years ago, there was not truly a network. There was no internet, right? So there was only the telephone. So kind of the technologies that we evolved in the last few years, I think that we just put the right recipe. And it's kind of now simple to see it, in my opinion. It's like you get the power, right? No, everybody had power, and then they start just putting all of the electricity in the last 100 years. Then on top of that, just like, interesting, we can see it on and off. So we did a binary kind of code. So we understood kind of how to codification of the language in a very short amount, which, telegrams, things like that, and telephones, right? So with Morse code and all of that. So those were kind of the steps. And then last 20, 30 years, internet. And now on top of that, it's like, oh, wow, everybody kind of contributed. And again, it seems very obvious right now, but it just happening, it play out in a very short amount of time. And we are seeing it with AI. It's like right now with the videos that we are recording, all of us, we are contributing to that network, to that base of
Mhm.
knowledge. And it's just going to be bananas to see the next steps. I think that being a technologist all my life, I think that the part that we need to be careful, I'm on the team of Ilya, like we need to have some safety. We need to be able to remove some biases, right? We're brown. It's like a lot of the content might not be done by us, right? So guess what? And then we're gonna be underserved. So I think that that's the reason why in the pod, we don't feel that we are the best podcasters ever, right? So we're
No,
learning.
Tex-Mex podcast number one. Woo!
Exactly. So thank you, subs. So, but I think that that's what happens. How many Hispanics podcasts you see, right? And I think that the AI will have biases, and I think that you have to label it. Similar on a lot of the pictures, right? Content that is out there, and I think that that's what I'm more concerned on, some of the implications. People losing their jobs, right? The biases, and some of the protections, because this will be, uh, before you needed to have a lot of people to do something, but now with AI, you might not have to hire them. So it could be their edge of companies that they know how to use AI, they'll succeed versus the other companies. So I'm more curious on the next step that is going to be more philosophical, more creative, because the machine will be able to do it faster, smarter, and way better than humans. So yes,
Mhm.
I'm very curious in the next 10 years.
Yeah, and even 5 years, we don't really quite know. We've seen this huge jump from the first Chat GPT large language model came out with maybe a year and a half ago or something, to where we are now. Now we have it in our pocket, acting as a girlfriend. I mean, that's that's a big jump in just 18 months. So, what's going to happen in the next 18? That's going to be pretty interesting. A lot of people are speculating. Yeah, we're going to have hints of sentience. We're going to have the AGI, kind of this a general intelligence that's able to do things, and then from there, a super intelligence might not be far off. So we're getting into some interesting times with AI. I think we're starting just to see some of these use cases, and there's going to be things we can't even dream up because the AI itself will dream it up. So it'll be very, very interesting coming up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we have a good one, man.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. We love to hear from you. If you haven't watched our viral Bitcoin all-time high meme remix, check it out on our channel. We have now over 10,000 views, and then our halving remix now also has over 2,000 views. So we're doing great. Keep it up. Keep watching those. That's all we've got for today. Dale.
Dale.